course, today's topic, Brighton, the issue of opposition party lawyers representing ruling party individuals and those in government and all that. I'm just curious. I would like to hear what our guests have to say on that as well. It's quite interesting, really, and I hope we'll have a lot of requests and get to hear what our guests have to say.
All right, let's jump straight into the news headlines this morning. Our first story coming from our website, that is site.org.zw, is Nelson Chamisa has been nominated uncontested as the presidential candidate for Triple C in the upcoming elections. This came out during a press conference held on Thursday in Harare, where this is an independent selection panel, CISP, gave an update on the current selection process. And speaking during a press conference, Rashid Mahia, a member of CISP, said there was an overwhelming response from the aspiring candidates. So, yeah, there we have it. Nelson Chamisa has been nominated uncontested there to become the presidential candidate for Triple C in the upcoming elections.
Yeah, and our second story is headlined Teachers for ED accused of causing havoc in schools. So parliamentarians have raised concerns over teachers who align themselves with political parties, noting that such conduct creates divisions at learning institutions. This was raised by Member of Parliament for Kambuzuma, Williams Matzimure, recently in Parliament. So he said, teachers are supposed to be united and look after every child. Therefore, teachers are expected to remain apolitical, but we now have a situation where we have teachers for ED. Where does it leave the other teachers if some teachers are said to be aligned to the president? Does it mean that we have some teachers who do not support the president? Matzimura said. So, yeah, quite an interesting article there.
Our next story coming through from our website is Kelshma owners are in legal occupation of Farm High Court. High Court says the High Court of Bulawayo has freed 3 directors of Kelshma Farm Private Limited from criminal charges of unlawful occupation of its Dageni farm. The wrangling for the farm has been ongoing since 2020, when Lands Minister Enchance Masuka, through a state gazette, announced that the farm had been compulsorily acquired under Section 72, Subsection 2 of the Constitution. So yeah, there we have it. Siposa Malung and others have been freed, and there's been said they are now the owners of that farm. It's quite interesting, the story coming from our website this morning.
Yeah, what an interesting turnout. It's been a struggle here. They've been in and out, to and from different courts. But yeah, at least it was a win for them. We also have another story headlined, Young Bulawayo woman desires to reform Zim's health using biotechnology. A 20-year-old biomedicine student from Bulawayo, Rutendo Kahari, who has been admitted to a top university in the United States, desires to use biotechnology to change Zimbabwe's healthcare system and lessen Africa's high illness burden. Kahari, who has always had a strong interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that is STEM, has been accepted at Baylor University in Texas to pursue her dream of becoming a biomedical researcher. So yeah, good luck and thumbs up to Ritendo Kahari on that one. We hope that she'll do well and get to realize her dream.
Right, guys, it's time to be social with Asake Online. Our services are live streaming, social media adverts, program sponsorship, mobile road shows, video filming, photography, documentaries, and as well as corporate events management. Do call us now on 263 788 084 339, or do drop us an email, ashley@site.org.zw, or come to our offices at number 45 Moffat Avenue, Hillside, right here in Go Bulawayo. Let's jump straight into the topic this morning. We're looking at the issue of the opposition lawyers representing the ruling party individuals or ruling party persons or politicians in court cases. How sincere will they be when it comes to holding the ruling party or the government to account? And also, for me, is it business or principle? What do you think about that topic this morning before we go to our listeners this morning?
Hey, Brighton, from me, I'm really concerned. I honestly think that there's a conflict of interest there. We might call it business for a while, for a bit in the beginning there. But I think as time goes on, someone might then just jump the fence and go over to the other side. I mean, we've been working together. Maybe I'll then start thinking along those lines, and and start moving in that direction. But I'm also interested to hear what our guests have to say in terms of conflict of interest. Do you really take it as it's just business, or do you think that they actually have that notion, that principle to say, you know what, this is business and this is what I stand for?
For me, it was quite alarming. Maybe looking at the issue, maybe as Ngati, Professor Labo Maduku, right? He has always been representing, maybe taking up these controversial cases, if I can say that. But also for me, he's a leader of NCA, right? He's the president of NCA, right? But now he's part of the opposition party. How can he represent maybe Ngati individuals from the ruling party at the same time, him being the opposition leader? How does he hold them accountable? Is it an issue of principle, morals, or business? For him, is it business or morals? But at the same time, his role in the opposition party, will he be able to hold those leaders to account? Remember also, I'm not sure, there was the issue of the there was a communique circulating in the previous weeks about Chamisa and Tabanimpo for representing Simon Rutland. For me, Simon Rutland is implicated in the Altozera documentary. So those things for me are saying the opposition, how are they going to hold the government or ruling party to account when their lawyers are representing or taking up these court cases? For me, is it an issue of principle, morals, or issue about business? We want to make money as a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. So those issues for me is quite alarming and sad. But I want to hear from you guys this morning. Jabula, I see you there. Debita, I see you there. Bento, I see you. Please do request the mic this morning. I want to hear from you this morning, guys, on the issue that opposition lawyers are taking up cases for the ruling party or individuals associated with the ruling party. Is that fair? Or is principle for them, or morals, or is about money? Please do request the mic. You want to hear from you this morning.
Yeah, I see we have been joined by Speak Truth to Power. Speak Truth to Power, good morning. And what's your take on today's topic?
Good morning, Nonhlanhla. Good morning, Brighton. Good morning, everyone on our circuit this morning. Good topic, and I think for me, it's a very difficult topic, to be honest, because I'm not a lawyer, right? And the problem I think that we have as a country is that we do have a lot of lawyers in our country who are also in the opposition. And when I go to court, I want the best representation that I can get out there when it comes to anyone settling or representing me in the court of law. So I think it's both, really. It's conflict of interest when it comes to when they are representing people in the ruling party. They have to have an understanding that there is conflict of interest, because how are you then expected to bring about accountability to the same people that you represented if it's cases that are going to, like for example, if it's a corruption case and then the same people escape justice, or you are such a good lawyer that they are able to go over justice, and then they come back in another form where you have to hold them to account in parliament, for you to actually genuinely say that you are questioning them and you're actually trying to bring them to account. So for me, I think it's both principle and also it's a matter of principle and also an understanding that they also need to earn a living. So I don't know if there is if there's a sort of approach you can take to say we will represent them on certain cases that do not then come back and give you issues in the future. But for me, it's a very difficult topic, and it's a very interesting topic to see what others think about it as well. So yeah, for me, it's a thorny subject for the opposition lawyers who are also our opposition leaders, sort of current parliament as well.
Well, thank you so much, Speak Truth to Power, for raising that. But also, it goes back to the issue that was raised by opposition over the past days. So say the opposition is silent, right? They're not doing anything about the issue of the Al Jazeera documentary or on the issue of corruption, right? For me, also, I try to link that on the issue of representation to say, if the lawyers look at the opposition party in Zimbabwe, most of them, they are lawyers, right? They have cases that they're taking up and so on. So if they're taking up cases or they have these alliances with other people who are implicated in some of these things, will they able to speak out against these issues? Will they able to act against corruption or maybe seek accountability and so on and so on? For me, it was quite sad on the issue of alliances and also the silence of the opposition there. Some of them being lawyers and also some of them doing business with other people from the ruling party. It's quite interesting what Speak to Power was saying there this morning. What's your take on that non-chat this morning?
Yeah, I think I concur with Speak to Truth to Power, especially when he spoke about the issue of, they are also in business. They also have to provide for their families. You know how politics has been in Zimbabwe, especially on the opposition side, where they don't. They have the least financial means of even campaigning, running those political parties. So yeah, I think I concur with Speak Truth to Power on that one. But then again, I wonder what our guests have to say. As the electorate, as people who are looking up to the opposition to play a certain role. Do you think that when these opposition party lawyers are taking up cases of those in government or in ruling party, representing them in court, do you think that there's a conflict of interest there? What do you think about that actually? What is your take on that? Is it just principle or business to you? I see we have been joined by Nkala. Good morning, Nkala. What do you think?
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, you are very audible. So please do go ahead.
Well, there's no matter of principle only, but it's a matter of fact that we should understand. Here we are talking about a lawyer. And as a lawyer, if you represent the ruling party individual and defend them, just like what happened with Chamisa representing the garage of the current president against the workers, as a person who he says is actually fighting for the people's rights. The controversy is there and it will stay there. And there is no way we can actually say, I will put it in a simple example. You guys can put it and say it's a matter of survival. But okay, let's put it in another angle and not put it in a lawyer's angle only. Let's say you are a wife and a prostitute. Is it possible to become a wife and a prostitute at the same time? It's not. So that is the situation that we find ourselves in if we've got a lawyer who is representing the ruling party at the same time trying to actually correct that person. You cannot become a thief and a pastor at the same time. So it's not possible. That person will actually be somebody who is just a crook or somebody who is just corrupt, because there is no way. If you are after money, you rather live trying to say you represent the people. If you are after money, go and look for money. And do not pretend or lie to the people to say that you are in opposition, you represent them. At the same time, whilst you are actually after money, which means in the parliament you are looking for money. At the same time, with the very people, when you are doing your work, you are looking for money. So there is no principle there. We'll be having a double agent or a crook, a person who's actually a crook. There is no principle in that sense.
Interesting there what Nkala is raising there around the issue of saying if you're looking for money, like if a politician and lawyer sometimes like looking for double money, double dipping. But also Nkala, I want to argue and say, but also I'm a lawyer before I'm a politician. My academic qualification that says I'm a lawyer, right? But now I open a political party, right? So can't I represent someone at the same time being a political leader? I want to argue around that. Before I give you the mic, Nkala, I see we have Speak to the Power. Use the end up. Please do go ahead and say with the contribution this morning.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say what Nkala raises is a very pertinent issue, because even in the UK, we have an issue now where the same problem has happened, whereby current serving ministers have been moonlighting for businesses, either for connections or to promote certain brands outside of their parliamentary duties. So they actually have a sort of situation whereby they are trying to see how this is regulated, and this is actually understood from are you going to be able to do your job if you are sort of earning from other sort of means and other ways. So I think it's not just a Zimbabwean problem. I think it's a problem across the board. What I would say is that personally, if you're a serving parliamentarian, I don't think you should actually be getting yourself involved in issues that may compromise your integrity or your position when it comes to debating for issues for the country. But that's me speaking from a point of view where I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know what sort of parliamentarians earn in Zimbabwe, and if that's enough for them to be able to sustain also their livelihoods, etc., etc. So I think there is a lot of things that are into that come into play there. Because if you're saying that when you're a parliamentarian and you're in the opposition and you're also a lawyer and your means of income is restricted to your service and your profession as a lawyer, do you then pay them enough so that they do not need to moonlight as or represent people outside of that sort of mandate for the 5 years that you have them in what you call them in parliament? Or do you say that they can represent people, but on maybe cases that do not or will not influence their positions in future in future sort of debates that may happen in parliament? So I think it's a very tricky subject that needs exploring and understanding that there are two things there: the moral aspect, the integrity aspect, and also the vocational aspect, where people are saying, I am a lawyer first before I'm a politician. Can you do both? Can you be both? And equating it to being a prostitute and a wife, I don't think that's a fair approach to the subject matter, because you're talking about you're talking about two different things when it comes to, even if we want to go down the morality route for ourselves. It's something that is a hot topic, because there are people that do moonlight as prostitutes and wives at the same time for money and other. They're still wives in certain countries and in certain spaces. So I don't think it's a fair assessment to actually equate it in this sort of debate that we're having. So I don't think that was a fair sort of approach to the subject. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I speak truth to power. Quite an interesting contribution that you've made there. Brighton, what do you think?
For me, I don't think I want to make a comparison of South Africa. I remember there was a time when Advocate Dalimpov was questioned about his representation of Jacob Zuma, the former president Jacob Zuma, to say he is the part of the opposition party, which is the EFF, but now he's also representing Jacob Zuma, who was the former president of South Africa and also part of the ANC. Remember, also EFF was questioning the stepping down of Zuma and so on. But now to have Dalimpov representing Jacob Zuma, for me, it was like, for me, yeah, Dalimpov is the top gun. As Chisupa I said earlier on, at times we want top-notch guys to represent people in their court cases. So I thought also in the issue of political ideology, to say this guy belongs to the EFF and they were instrumental in the removal of Jacob Zuma, but now he goes on to represent him in court. People spoke about that, some debate about that, but also that brings us again to where we find ourselves in Zimbabwe now. Many lawyers, part of the opposition party, are now representing the ruling party. What's your take on that, on the issue of, is it principle, business, or morals? I see we have another speaker there. Whom do you take now? I see you have many speakers joining us this morning. Jeff, please do go ahead with the contribution.
Okay, morning. Am I audible?
You are clear, sir. Please do go ahead with the contribution this morning.
Right, fellow Zimbabweans, how are you? Wherever you.
The text, it doesn't make sense. But when you are looking at,
I hear somebody. I can hear somebody speaking. Is it my turn or
Please
there is
go
a
ahead.
clash
Please do go
somewhere?
ahead. Please do go ahead, Jeff, and then we're going to give Van V later on. Jeff, go ahead now for now.
Okay, right. If we calm ourselves down and be in the true reality of our lives, we'll understand each other that politics is not charity work. It's not a calling. just a simple calling that I'm anointed or appointed by God for one to participate. Take it like this. Politicians, they get paid for their work. They also get benefits through their work. At what point do you get a lawyer uh, getting salary and say this is a salary that I got from my profession, I will use it for this, or this is my salary I got from my political activities, I will use it differently? Isn't it that we find those proceeds in the same bank account being used to look after oneself or the family? Right. If you say there is any difference, let's take for instance a taxi driver, right? You are a taxi driver, that is your profession, right? So when you are doing your work, you come across robberies running around, running away from the police. They stop you and say, look, brother, uh, we we want your services as a transporter or as a taxi driver. We will pay you. Give us a lift. What would you do? What does your morality say? Are you going to assist them to go wherever they want to go? It's the same as a lawyer and as a politician. We know these are all professions in their own right, and they clash. So it makes no sense to say, you say we don't want to mention anything about morality about a politician. It doesn't make sense. One decides what is moral to what they want to do and what is not moral to what they do. But it's a waste of time to try to justify it, to say it's right for a lawyer to represent somebody who is said to be corrupt or the alleged corrupt people. At the same time, when you are doing politics, you castigate saying this party is corrupt, right? Isn't it that grandstanding? People want to see the people who are alleged to have been corrupt charged. If they are found being corrupt, then you stand in between. You help them to get exonerated. At the same time, you are running around saying they are corrupt. So who is fooling who? I learned.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for that contribution. Quite interesting what you're touching on there. But let me remind our speakers today. We have so many speakers lined up now, and I'm seeing a lot of requests as well. So please let us be brief in our contribution so that we give others a chance. So yeah, let's hear from Munukwai. Good morning, Munukwai. Munukwai, are you there?
Yes.
Go ahead with your contribution.
All right. This is a very simple issue here. Matters of the law are matters that have got to do with rules and regulations. They are very straightforward. I'll give you an example of an example that I've seen on the timelines. Tabani Mpofu and Nelson Chamisa, they represented the Roadlands on a on a copyright issue. That's got nothing to do with corruption. That's got nothing to do with morality that everyone is throwing around here. So if you get a case like that, how do you decide that this person is corrupt or is immoral or is what, so I'm not going to represent them. It doesn't make sense. When someone comes with their case to you, you look at the matters that they present. You look at what the Constitution says. If it says this makes sense for you, you take it and you go to court. It's as simple as that. It's different from someone who says, you know what, I've made a more blessing early here, and I want you to represent me as a lawyer from the opposition. That's different. If we are saying lawyers should not represent, this person and that person, they are equally, liable to whatever it is that has happened, then it means just about every lawyer out there is a crook, is a murderer, is a housebreaker, is a rapist, is what? What is it that we are trying to say here? Some things are just simple. We're trying to complicate things that are not even complicated at all. If someone is corrupt, they've done whatever it is that they've done, it's upon them. If it comes to you as a lawyer and you think, okay, these people are accusing this person of corruption, but you know what? This hasn't been done right. This, and that. That's exactly what the opposition is actually fighting for. Following the Constitution, following the laws to the letter. If someone has been corrupt and it hasn't been, the police and have not done their job, someone has not done their job right, it doesn't give you the right to convict them. That's the thing. I will end there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Munukwaye, for that contribution. Quite interesting. And as you have heard, it's not only something that is happening in Africa, it's happening worldwide. And Munukwaye is saying it's something that we just have to live with. I wonder what Dobbs has to say. Good morning, Dobbs. What's your take on today's topic?
Yeah, many things. I would probably agree with Munukwaye to say representing somebody doesn't make somebody else innocent. It's only a matter of interpreting law to say he committed a crime. The one who represents somebody is just helping that somebody to understand and the court to understand the nature and the extent and the proper thinking of that person when he was committing that crime, or what causes that somebody to do that crime. We might have probably, if somebody from the army or from the police shoots somebody and gets represented, and imagines that I was taking orders from my commanders, who will then understand that our commander, the army commander, gives those orders, and then us as the public, we should then deal with that army commander politically. As we know in Zimbabwe, the army commander is also the president. So the issue is very simple. We mustn't hit around and blame the lawyer because we find somebody who is weaker to blame. We also have to blame ourselves to say we should find what is happening and what is causing somebody to do that offense, whether it's corruption or whatever, to say who is protecting who is bringing those ones, who is voting those ones, or appointing those people who are corrupt into high offices, and deal with the whole issue, not just leave everything to lawyers. That's my thinking. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Dobbs, for that contribution. I see you have also been joined by Dr. Admire M. Dube. Good morning, Doc. What's your take? What do you think about this whole situation?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Good morning, everyone. This matter, I'll look at it from 3 angles, and they all point to that there is nothing wrong with our politicians who happen to be lawyers to represent anyone who can be perceived as being on the other side of the fence. The first line to look at it is that our law uses the Roman Dutch law, which gives the presumption of not guilty if you haven't been convicted. So the moment you are putting labels to clients for these lawyers, you're already giving them a guilt verdict while this person has not yet gone through the litigation process, which is wrong. It's almost illegal, I think. So the first end of looking at it is that whoever walks into their door, through their door, is presumed to be not guilty because no competent court has found them to be guilty. So you can't label who walks into which lawyer's office. The second way to look at it is to look at it from an angle of morality, if you want to put morality into it. The point is, whether you look at them as guilty or not, these litigants are detached from the lawyer. A lawyer is not a litigant in a case. They play different roles, they've got different guilds, and if a lawyer is representing you standing in the dock, it's not the lawyer himself or herself who's facing accusations. So you can't prescribe or ascribe the guilt of the accused and then paint it to the lawyer who's representing them. So there's a second way of looking at it. And I can even cite a few examples here. You've got, maybe for lack of time, I won't cite many, but there are several. You can have Perezilang Mpoko, who was with ZANU-PF, being represented by Lavo Maduku and Washman Ngube. The other examples that have been cited here where Chamisa represented a company owned by the current president. There's so many examples. And then the third way of looking at it, just going briefly, I spoke of presumption of not guilty. I spoke of the immorality and the detachment between the lawyer and the litigant. Then, of course, there is the issue of politics itself, which is the reason why we're having this discussion in the first place. Because you're saying it's politically not correct because you are, I don't know, the assumption you're putting across, maybe you're saying if someone is guilty and is from the opposition side, then they should face the gallows, they should face the music. I'm not too sure what you're trying to insinuate by not having them get any legal representation. But the point is, it's now the politics. Who you think today is your enemy politically, tomorrow is your ally. So if you're saying Chamisa should only represent, for instance, Douglas Monzora because they're together, you fast forward a few years later, today they don't see eye to eye. So was it right at that time to represent him back then? What would be the insinuation there? This is politics. There are no permanent friends in politics, just permanent interests. So if you look at it from all those three angles, they're pointing to the fact that there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with anyone representing anyone at law in Zimbabwe. And with that, I'll end.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dube, for that. Yeah, quite interesting. And, you've attacked a whole lot of angles. And, I wonder what others have to say as well. I've seen some comments there. Someone saying lawyers by nature are corrupt. And then someone saying, how can you fight corruption when the opposition lawyers help corrupt people? Yeah, those are their thoughts. Let's hear what Caxman has to say. Good morning, Caxman.
Hi, how's it? Thanks very much. Hi, everyone. Personally, I would say I think there's no problem in a lawyer representing anyone. But the problem that we have, like if you check the topic, opposition lawyers representing ruling party individuals, we know the individuals that belongs to the ruling party, we know how they do their things. So it becomes a problem when we see people from the opposition, lawyers from the opposition, representing these people, because one way or another, you would realize that whatever the case that they are being represented in court, probably there are high chances that they could have done that thing, if it's crime or what. So I don't find any justification in that, and it really bothers me, because now I think I should talk of moral integrity here. I don't want to talk about law, because whenever I think about law in Zimbabwe, I get a headache. The same law that is used to persecute others, the same law that used to set free others who are even corrupt and who are criminals. So we can't talk about law here. We want to talk about moral integrity. If you are fighting against corruption, if you are fighting against thugs, if you are fighting against whatever that is injustice, you can't then turn around and now we see you representing the same people that we know their trades. They are people who are known many times of committing crimes, and you find a justification to say, it's just my job. No. We can't do that, guys. We can't. Honestly, we can't. Thank you.
Thank you, Kasman. Kasman is saying no. I wonder what Ichahunda Elisha has to say. Good morning, Dalu. Dalu, are you there? Oh, well, maybe having connection problems there. Let's move on to KK. KK, what's your take on what others have been saying and on the topic as well?
Okay, thank you very much, host. This is a very interesting topic. I think it assists us in building an environment, or in realizing that the political environment that we have built over the years is problematic, because it is not in sync with everything else that we're trying to do. So here's where you have where the political environment goes directly against some of the structures that we're trying to build in order to build the Zimbabwe that we want. So constitutionally, everyone has a right to representation, right? Regardless of where you're coming from, you have a right that is guaranteed by the Constitution. And if we think of ourselves as a constitutional nation, then what we are fighting for becomes the things we've expressed in our Constitution. That is how we govern our country, right? So if we agree on that, then everything else must follow what the Constitution says. So we have a right of representation. We have also, I think Dr. something, I can't remember the name, he also spoke about the presumption of innocence, right? That is a constitutional right, that no one is guilty until proven so by a competent court. So those are the things that are enshrined in the Constitution. But the political environment we've built, I want to draw parallels here. When you look at America, the politics itself has evolved to be fit for purpose. You've found that many politicians, or we find that many politicians in America actually become or are lawyers. You understand? And that sort of gives them a protection for their conduct in office, because there's a lot of conversations going on, there's a lot of dealings going on, and if they are pushed by the law, they can simply claim lawyer-client privilege, because most of them are lawyers. If cases are raised up in America regarding certain players within the political framework, and somebody is not a lawyer, that one becomes the weak point that investigators will target, because he cannot offer the same client-lawyer privileges that others can offer each other within that setup, so as to evade certain things and evade certain investigations. This happens in America, right? So you try and then bring it back to Zimbabwe, where we have adopted the Roman Dutch law, where we have adopted these constitutional values and democratic values. But because we have built a toxic atmosphere of politics, that's where we always be in this setup where, something that is as correct as any lawyer, whether we are coming from politics or not, to represent anyone, will be problematic, because it doesn't fit the political environment we've built. You are there, I am here, that kind of a scenario. So we're always fighting. So we need to rethink our politics and retailer it to the values that we think we are aspiring to. Otherwise, we all become hypocrites. That's my submission.
Thank you so much, KK, for that contribution. Guys, if you have just joined us on this morning on Asake, we are talking about opposition lawyers representing the ruling party individuals in court. So I want to hear from you as a follower, as a member of different political parties. What do you think? What does it mean to you? Do you question, is there a conflict of interest for you, or do you take it as, it's just business, or a matter of principle? So I'll give Finos a chance. Finos, your hand is up. Good morning, Finos.
Good morning. Interesting discussion, and thank you for formulating this space. Mangwanani, guys. I'm very conflicted on this one. Very, very much conflicted. I agree with everything that Dr. Admire submitted on the presumption of innocence, if you go by law. The question then is on the morality part of it. That's why I'm conflicted. I find it very repulsive for any lawyer. I know they have to follow their code of conduct, which says they should never discriminate clients. But my issue comes on the morality part. Assuming somebody who killed Tondera Indira, or who killed Bongeni, the opposition supporters, and you are the opposition leader, and you go and represent that particular person in court. Just the moral part of it, that's where I've got a problem, where I could easily, outsource or kind of give that particular job to somebody else rather than me doing it personally from a moral perspective. But there's absolutely nothing wrong professionally and legally for someone to do that. But it's just on the moral compass of it. I don't think it is something that is feasible. That's something that I would do on a, personally, and I think it is quite repulsive. If you are fighting a government, I'll give you a typical example. If we are going to represent Gideon Gono on extension charges or externalization, or anybody else on externalization charges, and we are fighting corruption, we are fighting the same regime that's externalizing funds, I don't find the prudence in pursuing such. So for me, it's just on the moral compass of it. But everything else, I think what KK and Dr. Admire submitted, it holds credence. But I'm siding with Cooksman on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Finos, for that contribution. I'll give Ichaunda a chance, and then after that, we'll have a taxi driver. Please, guys, let's make our contributions a bit brief so that we give others a chance. I still have a lot of requests from others who want to be speakers as well. So, Ichaunda, please do go ahead, darling.
Okay, for me, from a tactical standpoint, it's quite genius, this move. It makes a lot of sense. You need the most motivated person representing you. No one is more motivated by the person who, when you lose, everyone will think, Dano, really, they're on opposite ends. So there's no way he was going to represent him fully. So you really can't trust people around you to represent you in some cases, no matter how trivial they might sound. But someone from the opposite end will not want to lose with you. There's two people who actually are not willing to lose on this on the particular situation. So I feel it's quite genius for you having opposition lawyers representing ruling party individuals. I wouldn't trust someone who's got something to gain from my fall, especially when I'm in the same circles with them. Another thing, speaking of circles, those guys, let's not forget one thing: they are in the same circles. They might be in opposite end, but you find them in the same parliamentary portfolio committees. You find them in the same places most of the time. They spend most of their political careers moving around. So you might find out the person who can represent you best is someone you know from your circles. I won't mind having someone I actually know, someone I've seen work. At times you need the best. It doesn't really matter which alignment they have, but I don't think it would be wise for you, if you're in the ruling party, to actually be represented by a ruling party lawyer. That looks like a dangerous move and poor tactics. If you play poor games, I think at times your enemy is the best person you can trust in some situations. If you have to go into them at the same time. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on this one.
Quite an interesting angle there, Dalu. Taxi driver, good morning. What's your take on today's topic?
Thank you very much. My take is really awful but lawful. It's fine. They can represent whoever they want. You have the right to be represented by whoever you want, who you have confidence in. Right? Whether they will articulate your case and be on your side, for that matter. Not really on your side, but present you with the best solution to your problem. But there is something that Finos raises, which is fundamental, right? It's the optics, it's the morality of it. But here I will expand a little bit. The moral side of things takes two parts. One, it takes a categorical imperativism, right? A doctrine followed by thinkers like Immanuel Kant, right? Which speaks to the fundamental rights that an individual holds, right? There are certain duties that those who are charged with the responsibility of representative, right, that the law places on them, on a moral sense, to say you should represent this person because they've got categorical rights that must be respected, irregardless of whether they are a murderer or not. Right? This is taking the moral route. So the moral thing to do is to represent them because they have got rights, inalienable rights that must be respected. We put that one aside. The other side of morality is a consequentialist moral reasoning, which locates its morality in the state of the world that will result as a direct result of your consequences, right? As a direct result of your actions. As a lawyer, what will the world view you? What lens will they put into their eyes and look at you and say, here is a moral being. Is it good for the greater number? There, I think you may fail because you're criticizing on one hand, and you've got the masses with you saying, this guy is corrupt. And then on the other, you're representing that person claiming categorical imperativism. Anyway, I know it might be a little bit difficult to decipher for a few, but the moral story, I will summarize it in one sentence, is that yes, individuals have rights and they should be represented, but you should take your own look at yourself and say, is what I'm doing going to sit with the greater number? Which I think in most cases, the greater number matters most. Anyway, I rest my case.
Thank you so much, taxi driver, for that contribution. I see we have Nkala. One more time, Nkala, please be brief, and then we give Bashona a chance.
Okay, thank you. Whether a thief is in UK, whether a thief is in Canada, it's a thief. So whether we want to justify the fact is the topic says opposition lawyers are representing ruling party individuals in court, which is not right. That is double dipping. No matter whatever, professional or what, even professionally, you cannot double dip. Professionally, you cannot double dip. Choose your side, stay on that side, and it's a clear thing. Otherwise, you are conflicted.
Thank you, Kanisha Nkala, for that contribution. Kala is saying no, it's still not right. I wonder what Bashona has to say. Good morning, Bashona.
Good morning, my sister. How are you doing? Let's just dip straight to the point. These people that you are talking about here today, whose position is coming in as lawyers. The first important thing that you need to understand: these people are actually members of parliament, most of them. Opposition members of parliament. I'll give an example. In 2015, Nelson Chamisa was a member of parliament for MDCT, and he represented the popular known case called Zua, and which as a result made more than 30,000 people in Zimbabwe, losing their jobs, going home empty-handed after serving in different companies for some of them more than 30 years, but they went home empty-handed. And then you realize that this person, he was coming from a parliament which was supposed to create a law that can save and protect the people of Zimbabwe. But what this man did was for his money, and he went on representing a company to make sure that people will suffer in Zimbabwe. We have got Tendai Biti, represented Gono, like as others said. We've got Job Scala representing Ota Muzembi, former cabinet minister. We've got what's his name? I think it's Mafume, representing another ZANU-PF member. We have got Maduku representing Chombo. At the end of the day, what kind of society are we coming from? Are these politicians genuine to us as electorate? Are these politicians genuinely truthful, saying that they are representing you as Zimbabweans to fight corruption, yet are the ones who are coming in black gowns, white collars, saying I'm here to defend my client, he never committed a crime? But the current government will tell you that these people, we have made our own investigations. They made this kind of corruption, but you will see them saying that they are not committing crimes. But the point that I'm trying to raise here, my sister, is that if the opposition is genuinely, as they claim, that they are here to represent the people of Zimbabwe, fighting corruption, fighting poverty, and all sorts of names that they can come up with, show me one of them who is truthful and genuinely say that today I'm not going to receive a Toyota Land Cruiser from the Parliament of Zimbabwe. I'm not going to receive $40,000 or $50,000 from the Parliament of Zimbabwe. You will not see none. The point that I'm trying to tell you is that these people, they are there for their interests. These people, they are there to make sure that their families are living better and they have a better life. There are so many lawyers in Zimbabwe who are not even politicians. There are so many lawyers in Zimbabwe who are not even aligned to any political parties. If these lawyers, as far as I know, they exchange matters, they exchange cases, they would simply say, no, Gideon Gono, I cannot represent you. Remember, I was your former boss. I was finance minister. Why can't you go to lawyer ABC? Probably they can represent you, because there will be a conflict of interest here. But the truth is, they don't care about you. They care about their families. They care about their pockets. They care about their future, generation. So, fellow Zimbabweans, choose and vote wisely. Go and register and vote. And remove this bunch of losers who come and tell you that we are here to represent you, yet they are not representing you. They are representing their interests. Well, you can see what they are doing, these opposition lawyers. You can see what they are doing in parliament. You can see what they are doing in councillors. They are just busy looting for their future generation, not for you and me. My sister, I rest my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bashona, for your contribution. I see we have Kwame Sankara. Good morning, Kwame Sankara. What's your take? What's your contribution this morning?
Thank you, Madam. Good morning, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for this good topic, and I agree with the last two speakers. The topic is a political topic, and we will not find answers in legalities, but we find answers from politics. Politics is a game of principles. Principles define politicians who last. So if you are immoral as a politician, if your principles are not right, then we as the electorate, we are bound to judge and question you as to what is it that you are doing. You see, we have had prominent lawyers in politics since liberation struggle. We know of famed Stepo, then the disappeared lawyer, I think it's Stole, and we had the likes of Jobro. We not at any time did we
Kwame,
ever.
you're breaking up.
Hello, can you hear me now? Not at any time did we ever hear that Chitepo represented those he was fighting with politically, the political opponents. Not at any time did we hear that Jobro represented those he was fighting with the opponents politically. But our own opposition lawyers, they're at the forefront, the whole leadership, you know, that's the sad thing, that it is the cream de la creme, the top leadership who are busy representing the people that they were telling us that they are corrupt. They're the ones who have taught us that these people are corrupt. They're the ones that have taught us these people have no morals. What they are doing is illegal. And when they are arrested, they are at the forefront of defending them. What principles are those? Right now in America, the mother of democracy, Donald Trump, a Republican former president, was arrested. Never did we hear that the lawyer representing him was a former, I mean, from the Democrats. From the Democrats. So in our view, it is wrong for our opposition politician to be at the forefront. It violates us as the electorate and as their supporters. It kills the principles in politics. It's like they are after their own interest at the expense of our interest as the citizen. And remember, they got to interact with these top clients because they were representing us. So in representing us, they were failing to represent us, but they were busy marketing their legal skills to the detriment of our cause. So in our view, that is wrong and totally unacceptable and unprincipled. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Kwame, for that contribution. Now, there's now a 10. I see also, Kay, your hand is up. Kay, please do go ahead with your contribution. What do you think about what the previous speakers have said?
Well, it's very interesting, the contributions that are being made. What I think this thing does is it shines a light on our politics. I don't see this changing anytime soon, where you have lawyers practicing their right to represent anyone in Zimbabwe, whether they are from a different political party or not. What I think we should change is our politics. Our politics cannot be about, like what the previous speaker has said. You're comparing two different epochs in our history. We had a fight for liberation, which really puts one side on the other side and one side on the other side. It was a complete redrawing of the political structure in Zimbabwe and putting in majority rule. So we're now in majority rule, where we have decided collectively as Zimbabweans that we are going to have a constitution. And this is the constitution that we are going to put forth and say, this is the doctrine that the glue that holds us together. So in that glue that holds us together, there are key fundamental issues that we must promote. And as I said earlier on, right to representation is one of them, and presumption of innocence is one of them. So I think, in my view here, it's our politics that we need to change. This really shines a light on this toxic politics that we have adopted. We are in a free Zimbabwe now. So in this free Zimbabwe, there will be people that will go against certain laws, and they must be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. In the same way, they must be represented to the fullest. Somebody mentioned the example of Gideon Gono and Biti, and I submit to you guys, that was a masterstroke. How Gono managed to get Biti to be his lawyer did two things. It assured his representation. It also denied the state a case, clear case like that. It denied the state a key witness, because by Biti becoming a lawyer to Gono, he became a witness. He couldn't be available to witness anything against Gono. So this is the political, this is the constitutional architecture that we have built and is allowing those things. So we either are a constitutional people or we go back to anarchism where we view each other strictly along political lines. Politics should be about what is the best idea that can take Zimbabwe forward, not this anarchist environment that we have built, in my view. So it shines a light on the kind of politics we are practicing in Zimbabwe.
Thank you so much, Kay, for that contribution. Kay is saying, you know what, we need to change this toxic political environment that we have. I wonder what Zisore Kondo has to say. As we wrap up this space, Zisore Kondo will be our last speaker. We have run out of time. I see your request, guys, but we have really run out of time. So let's give Zisore Kondo a chance. Good morning, Zisore Kondo.
Good morning, host. I have 2 or 3 issues I just want to quickly run through. My first point is already in the comment section, which addresses the fundamental problem with this Twitter space today. The headline takes and dictates the tone of what is being discussed by painting a lawyer who is a lawyer is a lawyer. They're not an opposition lawyer, because the legal space and the political space only interact in terms of where there's a constitutional problem. It is not assumed by becoming a lawyer that you are a lawyer for the opposition or a lawyer for the incumbent. So your headline is taking the discussion in a rotten direction, to use the best term I can use. I don't want to use a corrupt direction, because that would be accusing you of corruption. But if you are saying an opposition lawyer or an incumbent lawyer, then there are 2 types of lawyer in the country, and a person should engage a lawyer on the basis of political leaning. And that doesn't work, because even then the Constitution can be judged on the basis of political leaning. What is the political position of the judge? Because that then needs to matter. Judges vote. Where do they vote? Does that need to become public if a vote is private? So you've got a very scrambled headline that you're running with, firstly. The second problem that is here is that the Constitution as it stands should not impress upon anyone any issues of this nature unless the conflict of interest is going to further cause a breach within the Constitution itself. Which is to say, a conflict of interest here can be represented as a moral judgment that the subject has to make, or it can be identified in constitutional breach. If there is a breach of constitution by as part of what is identified as a conflict of interest, then that is a problem. If there is no breach of the constitutional position, then it's a moral position, and your morality is yours. So this conversation and a whole lot of the speakers who've come through talking about opposition lawyers as if it's a thing, they are also probably then in support, for example, of opposition retailers selling to ruling party individuals in the street. It's exactly the same thing. Who are you buying your bread from? Are you checking the political leaning of that person before you buy your bread? Where do you get your energy from? Are you checking the political leaning of the person before you pay them for the service of providing you with energy? There should be none of that. The political space is a political space separate to how you're engaging on a day to day, and the law should not run along lines of of opposition or incumbent. Otherwise, you're now separating the entire country along political lines. This headline sows and fuels division along political lines. It's bad. It's rotten. This whole discussion, I'm chucking it in the bin personally, and I expect Sight to do better because this is clickbaiting an entire people. I don't know why there are 120 people coming through here, but it's not to discuss something serious because branding the legal landscape, one of opposition lawyers and incumbent lawyers, is basically dividing the country along political lines, and that you're sowing seeds of division by encouraging it. There's not even a question mark. So you're basically saying that there is such a thing as opposition lawyers. Please don't go and buy your food today from from people who support a different political party to who you support. If taxi driver, you can thumbs down as much as you want, but I'm taking what is in the headline now and extrapolating it in all the other spaces, because why would you put a separation between who you engage in a legal capacity on political basis and who you engage in any other capacity in other walks of life? That's the whole point. The lawyer is there to provide a service. The service is legal representation according to what the Constitution allows that lawyer to do. It is not about your political position. I'm not saying, Cooksman, same thing again. You can thumbs down as much as you want. But if your personal position on whether you're going to engage a case or not is not about a constitutional violation, then it's up to you. But if there is a risk of constitutional violation, you don't do it. Otherwise, you have to align your entire life in order to be consistent. Be consistent with that position. If you're going to say opposition lawyers, who is your opposition energy supplier? Who is your opposition transport provider? Who is your opposition tailor? Who is your opposition builder? Who is your opposition gold miner? For example, are you going to go to a person and check their political leaning before you buy the diamond that you're going to engage your wife with? It's obscene to put this label on a profession that reports to its own institution, which is the bar. So, Sight, very, very, very bad Twitter space today. I'm glad it's recorded. Take this as advice. Please sanitize your headlines before you put them up there, because this is absolutely terrible.
Can I just chime in before we end, if that's okay? Because there are a few things that need to be corrected. It is democratic to have your topic, and I think you're right, because it encourages people to debate about these things.
There's nothing to debate about the fact.
Can I speak? I let you speak, even though I was itching to speak when you're speaking. There are two things that I agree with you, right, Cicero Gondo, in terms of representation. You have the right to be represented by whoever you want to be represented by, and as long as they're prepared to represent with you, bingo, go ahead with that. And there's a wrong that I want to correct that this man was talking about. Conflict of interest is not viewed by the law from the eyes of both sides. It's on the client. It's a client and a service provider relationship. If I'm happy that my interests will be saved by this guy, I shall hire them. It has nothing to do with morality. It's conflict of interest. Whose interest? My interest. Are you saving my interest? Yes. Good to go. So that argument is fundamentally flawed that was being advanced here, that the conflict of interest affect the constitution. That's got nothing to do with the constitution. It's my interest. Are they being served? Yes. We go ahead. And the topic, put it. If people are willing to discuss, that's democracy. Thank you. Anyway.
Thank you so much, taxi driver, Zisore Kondo, and all other contributors to this morning on Asake. Today we're talking about the opposition lawyers representing the ruling party individuals in court. And we had different views coming from our guests today, and quite interesting views. Some are saying, you know what, everyone has a right to representation. Some are saying, as political, as the electorate, something that, is not right. But yeah, quite interesting views coming from everybody. So thank you so much for tuning in, and please do join us next week, every weekday from 8:30 to 9:30. And thank you so much, taxi driver. You took the words out of my mouth, really. The topic is yours. You come and say your views from all the angles. And thank you so much for joining us. Otherwise, from myself, and Brighton Ngube, it's bye for now.
The leave